Happy Wednesday, part 3 today. What's up, Kay?
Hello, hello. Yes, we are at our final episode of this
Yeah.
series anyway.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, I think this is a good reboot for everybody to just watch this and see kind of like where you are in your business and see if like maybe any of these tips could help you just like tweak something. Doesn't have to be
Absolutely.
just anything could help, right?
Absolutely.
I actually went through and did your I sent my VA the video we did last week and I said, go watch what Kay does. Let's do some of that.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I know I got a few DMs and people are like revamping their PO box addresses, and I just love it. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Yeah, yeah, good stuff.
It does. How did you? I want to touch on that real quick. How did you get
Yeah.
verified? I know you live locally, but
Yes.
if you don't live locally, how do you get verified for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so Google back in the day when you used to do like a Google verified address, they would just send you a little postcard in the mail.
Yep, I
Whoever's
remember
there,
that.
grab it, give you the code, right? They've gotten a little bit more savvy with that.
Yep.
So they will ask you to do like a video of yourself, and they want to see something that resembles like that is your office, right? It could be a business card on the desk, a logo on the door, whatever like that. So what you can do is you can just ask the receptionist there, to be completely honest with you, and they will hook you up. Just be sweet, be nice, send some
Okay.
cookies. Send some cookies.
And for cookies, tootiecookies.com.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're there. The receptionist at a Regis office is usually there Monday through Friday, business hours. So you're not the only person in there trying to get Google verified. So just
Right.
be super sweet, and they'll hook you up. Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, because like I had for my my cleaning business, I had to get verified, and I run that out of my house. So
Mhm.
they were trying to say like I showed them my office, I showed them this right here, and then I showed them my truck has like the branding on it and all that stuff, and I showed them where it was, the location, all this stuff, and I was like, it's service, so we don't work
Right.
out of our office, right? And there's a selection for that, but it literally took me a month to get verified.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now that I have Google reviews. I have 6 reviews already, and it's only been up for like less than a week. So it's awesome. Like it is so helpful because now it shows up when people Google me, it comes right up, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the first thing people do. Like
Yeah,
on,
people are gonna Google. I mean, we Google. A number shows up on your phone. What you're gonna Google?
I Google it.
Like
First thing I do
I
is like,
do.
is this a scam? And I Google them up.
Yeah, is this junk, right? Exactly. So yeah, you can do that. I mean, you can just have you may not have a logo on the door there, but you can like have like your shirt maybe with your logo on it, and you can like do like a video and then just walk around, and that'll work for Google too. So
Okay.
yeah. And
All right.
also another tip, it's really good to have like your address and your phone number, your email address, all be uniform and match everywhere.
Mhm.
Because if you want to start building your business credit too, the banks and everyone, they look at that stuff to see how real you are. And they're going to pull that information. And so if you can show up online as like, oh, this is a real brick and mortar business, they have reviews, the address matches everything with Secretary of State, the phone number, all that good stuff. It makes you fundable too when you start tiptoeing into the business credit side of things. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yep, that's all true. Like you want to be like reputable. People want people to like see that you're legit. So
Mm-hmm.
totally makes sense. That's awesome. Yeah, I actually so I don't even have my Google verified for Cash for Land. I have to do that, but I have a Regis office, but I just never did the next step. So I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
send some cookies to
do
start
it.
that.
Send the cookies. And you
Yeah.
don't have to get like the full blown private office spaces that cost a little bit. You could just get the virtual office option. Yeah. Yep.
Mine's $62 a month. It's like nothing. And that's
Yeah.
with the monthly mail forwarding. So it's like it's really nothing. If you think about it, I
No,
paid
it's not. Yeah.
anytime mailbox cost me $20 a month, right? But that mailbox, they would forward me the mail. And I ended up like I looked at my real costs. It cost me like almost $80 a month because they were
Same.
forwarding my
Yeah.
mail and all this stuff. I'm like, what am I paying for it to look like that? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, let me just switch to this. So I canceled the other two, switch to that. And so far, so good. I mean, I still actually, yeah, I only did it like 2 months ago. So we only just switched it on our mailers a month ago. So I still haven't gotten mail up yet, but I mean, I'm happy with it. I like it. So that was it from you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, just dropping some little nuggets when I can, you know. It's so funny. Um, at having a local, so like you can get a Regis address. If you can get one in like the beautiful uptown area or city center in your city, it's gonna cost more. But then like you have all the other Bank of America and all that stuff in the building, right? Which is nice. Funny story with our office. So we have a gentleman and sent him a mailer. He sent a letter back. It was typed and he's like, I have 2 parcels. I want to sell it to you. I'll be in Charlotte. This is like 2 months ago. So he finally comes to Charlotte. We're like 10 a.m. We're emailing him. We're just confirming 10 a.m. We told the receptionist, hey, so this guy comes up there. We reserve the conference room for a few hours, you know, all that jazz. And we get up there and it is this sweet old man. And he has been there since 8:30 a.m. He has been in their conference room since 8:30 a.m. talking the receptionist's head off. And he's like, yeah, it was so funny. And he's like, that's okay, I'll wait. He waited till 10. And me, always being late somewhere, I was like 10 minutes late. Candace got there, acquisition manager, she was there. And yeah, he just talked our head off. He just wanted to stop and shake our hand and chat a little bit. And he owns 2 lots here in Charlotte, and they can have mobile homes on them, which is rare. And the 2 people that are there right now, he has a lease with them, and he's kind of like, can you please get them off like the property? He's like, I'll sell it to you, but can you help me? You like,
Yeah.
you know, get them off and get them notice and all that good stuff like that. But yeah, we don't really use that office often, but you know, it's a nice address. If people do want to pop up and shake your hand, you can rent the conference room, you know?
Yeah. So the office you're in now, it's not there?
So no, I don't need people popping up on me where I'm at on a regular basis now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the address on the mailers is my Regis office in one area of town, and we get all of our mail. Our return mail is there. The receptionist is there. The office I'm physically at is a few miles away in City Center, and I'll probably use that address to I can get it Google verified too. Probably maybe on like the dispo side of the business, that business. Maybe do that. Yeah. But I definitely can't have people knowing where I'm at, you know, most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine, I have mine in I went with Durham, North Carolina. It was like 555 Magnum Street. It's like $62 a month. It was like I went for like I'm like, I don't need the expensive one. Like Regis, you could go Regis, and this is like Spaces through Regis. So it's the same type of thing. But it's funny, if I go to the Spaces office, it's $200 a month.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So they don't own the buildings, they rent them. And I found out the one that we're at uptown, they actually own the building. And so like the rates are half the price. I mean, super cheap. They're half the price. And I really like it. So it's good.
Yeah, there's one by me. Like I for my cleaning business, I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll just rent the office when I'm doing interviews and stuff like that. Like makes you look a little bit better, but I just go to a Starbucks. It's free.
Go to a Starbucks. It's free.
I can get some coffee.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want a coffee? Like, let's chat about it. You know, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it. One thing that Femi talks about, and I think it is good things too. Like he talks about like how he likes to control his reviews. So he doesn't like having like a public forum for people to post reviews anywhere, which I do understand. Having Google verified and having the ability for people to just post a review could be a negative aspect of your business too.
Yeah.
Have you had any negative reviews that you had to like fight or cancel? Or
no, we haven't. And something I have learned from, and I learned the online presence from the Airbnb business. It's kind of like Amazon. It's very like SEO heavy, like with Airbnb. So you have to have the best pictures, the best listing description. You have to show up the most to really gather that market. And we did that really, really well. And one thing we did was we always had like in our advertising, check us out on Google. That is something I would not replicate in this business, because when you do that, you draw attention to, hey, check us out on Google, right? And then people that want to leave something negative about you, or maybe just want to be an asshole, they can go on there and leave something negative. We don't advertise our Google link or our Google review. If you go on our website, we don't advertise it. It's not in our mailing. It is simply something in the background. So when people do their sniff test on us, when they get that piece of mail, that we show up and we're legit. So we don't advertise it anywhere. It is there for people when they get a letter, they can look us up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I wouldn't advise putting it on your website or bragging about how many Google reviews you got and putting the link everywhere, because that's just like asking someone to like come leave something negative. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I just Googled myself because I wanted to see, because we
Uh-huh.
had there was another I'll show you guys. So I know we of course we go on a tangent because that's what we do.
Of course, that's what we do. That's why
But
we
here
have
we
2 hours.
Yep. Cash for Land USA right here. Boom. Real estate
I
developer in
see
Durham, North Carolina. Look at
I
that.
see you, Dennis.
I know. But that's the good thing. So before, when people typed in cash for land, there was there is another cash for land. And I didn't realize this when I started the company,
Mhm.
but there is another cash for land. And
Because it's so general,
well, here,
right?
cash for land LLC business profile. So they have negative reviews. So you could see like there was a bunch of like negatives on this. I forget where they were, whatever. And it's funny, I actually hired somebody, and when I hired them, turns out they actually worked for this
No, the
this is
other
not
cash
it.
for
They
land.
worked for the other cash for land. And they were like, yeah, they're terrible. This is not so cash, this is not us. They're paying for SEO though. Well, good for them. Sorry, I just charged you money.
Yep, click.
Yeah, cost you money. Sorry. But yeah, they worked for the other cash for land, and guess what? Guess what they do? They're old school. They get they still send 25% offers on everything. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
it.
that's not gonna work.
They
Yeah.
still are in business 11 years. They're still crushing it. So it does
Well, I
work.
guess it does work.
I think it's just a volume game at that point. It's just a matter of like how much crap you're sending out, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do a lot of like Arizona lots, things like that.
Okay.
Different model.
And that's the
Um,
beauty of this business, right? Like everything works. Everything
mhm,
works for someone. So
yeah. All right, we got a quick question actually, and then we'll get into the thing. Hey guys, thanks for doing this. Quick question: how do I learn to cold call as I'm starting with a strict budget at the moment? So, Antonio, if you're looking to cold call, if you're going to do it yourself, that is a whole different thing. Okay. Um, if you want to get a deal really quick, you can, but you need to hit numbers. Like I'm talking about, like high volume. You're probably going to want to dial and have at least 20 conversations a day, which means you're probably going to have to dial about 2 to 400 people a day, right? And if you're using a single line dialer, you can, it's fine, like a Mojo or whatever, you'll do fine, but it does take a lot of time. You'd probably want a triple line dialer, and you probably want to just crank at it. You can do well if you're doing it yourself. Now, if you're going to hire somebody, that's a whole different thing, because you're going to take a lot more time. It's going to cost you a lot of money to really get up and running. Um, KPIs for cold calling are pretty good, but their texting actually has better KPIs, cost per lead, than cold calling does. And then it goes texting, cold calling, mail, everything else, pretty much. So like that's going to be, you're going to do pretty good. It's really tough though, and you have to be committed. Like you can't just call 10 people and be like, this doesn't work. Like it might literally take you 5,000 people till you get a deal. Like, and you just have to expect that and just keep cranking at it. The negative thing with cold calling is high burn rate, high burnout, right? You quit quickly, and it's typically expensive for skip tracing and all that stuff, because you still have to pull your list. You still have to price your list. You still have to then call your list. Then you have to get your dialer. Then you have to set up your CRM. Then you have to set up follow-up sequences. Then you have to everything. There's a lot of steps involved. So
you're
a lot of people,
scaring him, Dennis. You're scaring.
I am.
You're
I
scaring
know.
him.
I know I'm scaring you, but I want to be realistic here. What I like about mail is higher cost per contact technically, but when they call, it's the highest conversion rate, right? So if you're cold calling, you could do it, you could crush it. You just got to actually do it. And if you stick with it, you will be successful. It's just a matter of like being consistent, right? And you have to sound good on the phone. Like
Smile. They say smile and dial.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can hear it through the phone. I'm serious.
Literally, when I got
Yeah.
into my real estate license, I cold called. I
Yeah.
would literally call. I had a Mojo 10-line dialer, and I think I cold called like probably I think I would put like 1,000 people a day, and I would just rip through that list.
So
And
if someone just has a cell phone, Dennis, can they do it? Like, what's their tech stack? Like minimal budget, cell
yeah,
phone in hand. What do you recommend?
don't use your personal cell phone. You will get marked as spam. Do not do
Okay,
that.
that's good.
Oh, never do that. Call Rail. You could use Call Rail. Like that's like a better dialer for that. Mojo or Call Rail. I would not use Open Phone. Open Phone will mark you as spam. Open Phone does not allow cold calling. They only allow second like multi-contact. So like if you've already contacted them once, then you're allowed to use Open Phone to call them again, right? But if you go through A2P certification, all that stuff, and you tell them like whatever, and then they find out you're cold calling, they will cancel your plan, flat out. So don't even bother. They're great, but that's one thing they don't do. Call Rail, you could do a triple line dialer. It's known for cold calling. Mojo dialer is great. There's a couple other ones. What is it? Batch dialer and dial pad and a whole bunch of them, right? It's fine. Costs you like $50 to $100 a month plus your data. So depending on where you get your data, so wherever you're going to get it, if you're going to use Land Insights, if you're going to use Data Tree, if you're going to use whatever Land Portal, you're going to use this, whatever you're going to use, doesn't matter. You got to get your data somewhere, and then you got to skip trace it, and then you got to call it. So you have to be able to dedicate yourself hours into this. So it's tough.
What do you think is the cheapest data someone can get just having a tight budget coming in?
The cheapest data you could get it on Regrid, which is extremely cheap, but it's not that like good.
Accurate. Okay.
Yeah, it's not accurate. You could also get like, all right, if you want to go really super lean, I was actually going to do this. I was going to run a test and like do it myself. You could look up data on like the GIS, grab parcels and all that stuff. It's one by one. It's going to take you forever. You could hand select parcels, and then you take it and look it up on like was it True People Search or Free People Search, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You go look it up on there, get their phone numbers, call them, and see what happens. Right? You might get lucky and get somebody after like 100 calls. You don't know, right? It's just like I would be really like looking at it, like how long have they owned it? What was the last purchase price? What was this? Like all that little things. So you're doing a lot of back end homework before you're even going to call them because you want to limit your list. So there's a lot. I could go about this all day and talk about it. It is not easy. Like when I first got into real estate, that's what I did. I had a mirror in front of me and I had a thing that said smile and dial, baby. And that's it. I just sat there and smiled and dialed. And I was looking for listings because I was a real estate agent. I'm like, how can I get listings? Boom. I just start cold calling. And I got my first listing like that. It worked. I made like, I don't know, like 20 grand on it. I'm like, this is awesome. It works. But then like I stopped cold calling after that completely. Like I got the one and I thought that was it. And I'm like, I'm good. No, it's not that. Because, you know, it worked, but then I'm not consistent with it. I was honest with myself. So
yeah, you got to have tough skin. I think cold calling is next in line after door knocking, right?
oh God.
I mean, but if you can door knock and if you can cold call, like, and you build that tough skin for people to tell you no, like I think that is a skill. Like it's good. It's going to be good for the future because you know. Yep. People can be mean. So
yes.
Yeah. You just gotta know not to take it personal.
Let's talk about failed ventures that I've had. I had a door knocking.
We can talk about that all day with me.
All day. We failed, we just keep going again. I had a door knocking business. It's called Knockly. And I would go door knock people. We would train other companies, like other people to do it. And then, you know, like basically be like a lead gen source for like an add-on for wholesaler. So like if you wanted to add on door knocking but didn't want to build a team, like we were your source. We would go, we would train, we would do everything, build a team for you and do it. Totally failed. But we did it. We tried. And I door knock houses and people pull guns on me. People do all kinds of things. It was wild.
Well, land, they will still pull a gun on you if you walk on the property. Yeah. The neighbor's pulling a gun. Yeah. That's something common.
Absolutely. So, Yeah, it's not easy. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get a house real quick, door knocking is your fastest way to get a house. Like if you're looking for a house or wholesale. That's it.
Yeah.
Hard. That's why nobody does it. You know?
Yeah, but when you start with a tiny budget, you just have to have a lot of grit, to be honest with you. Like you can get a deal. It's just gonna just be ready for that. Be ready to do a lot of work. That's all. Yeah.
AJ asks, when I pull comps, some areas still seem off. Am I pricing broadly by counties? So should I break it down by zip? Yes. We talked about this, I think, in the last video, pricing.
We did, yeah.
Pricing by zip, even when you price by zip, you might even have to break it down into quadrants, right?
Yeah.
Like you could look at a zip code and be like, oh, everything is like whatever, but it's not the same across the board. Oh, anyway, like ever. Unless you're in like, I don't even know, like certain rural Texas towns where it's like everything sells for $3,000 an acre, then yeah, whatever. But realistically, nothing's ever the same.
Yeah, especially when you talk about smaller parcel sizes, the numbers are going to be all over the place, price breaker. And the quality of the land is going to be very sensitive because if it doesn't perk, because you can only build on a quarter acre, then the value goes way down. And yeah, it's a little bit easier to price when you're further out, like you said, very rural, larger acreage bands. And then again, that's, how homogeneous is the area, right? So, yeah.
Think about this. When you're in a zip code, like I could think about the zip code I grew up in, right? We had 8 different zip codes in my one town. Okay. So just one town at 8 different zip codes. And the price points of houses went based upon the school system. So inside a specific specific zip code, I had like 5 different schools, and each one of them had its own like little area bubble. So my pricing on houses, everything was based on the school zone, not even the zip code, not even anything else. So like, think about how broad it could be.
Yeah.
So like, especially if you're doing infill lots, like it gets very broad really quick. Depends on the school zone the kids are going to go to. It depends on what's going on in that town, or maybe this street is terrible, but every other street's great. Like it's just how it is.
But whoever asked that, go into the archives on YouTube. Dennis has like a million gazillion videos on pricing, and he goes into detail, and he does it on screen. So there's tons of information on pricing on the YouTube channel.
Yep. I've priced a lot. I've done a lot of them. I just did one like 3-4 weeks ago. So
yeah. And Ryan did pricing yesterday, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah. I think Rylan did a pricing video.
Right. Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's get back on track. So we were talking about today, we want to talk about dispo. How do we dispo a deal, okay?
So there's a few different ways. I love to double close. So I think that is considered a dispo strategy. And I'm a huge fan of the MLS because in my head, we get the highest value for our land, selling it to the consumer, selling to the public. Very different from the traditional wholesaling scene where typically you're wholesaling it to another investor, that kind of thing. So I know a lot of people self-list, maybe on Facebook and Craigslist and other platforms. I haven't done that, so I can't speak in detail about that. But I've used the MLS. I've used flat fee MLS. I've used Brokerlist. Brokerlist is great if you double closing. And List with Freedom, I think is great. I love the platform. They just upgraded it. If you're doing like a buy sell, I like that they let you control everything on their platform, everything that you enter in, all the photos, the order of them, all of that good stuff. I really like their platform. And of course, I'm an agent, right? So I get to kind of see behind the scenes in both worlds. And if something's over in my area, I'll also list it. So those are my favorite. What about you?
Yeah, so I'll show you guys too. So I have used right here. Let's share my screen. Okay. So I've used, this is Brokerlist. We've used them. Jack is awesome. He's great. We'll talk to you, communicate, everything like that. We've used him a lot.
Is he really great? No, I'm just joking.
He could be a pain in the ass, but he gets the job done.
No, but he's rough around the edges. That's all.
Yeah, I will definitely say he's definitely rough around the edges, but he does call you and he does talk to you. So I'll give him that.
He does. Yeah.
So we've used him a bunch of times. We've sold a bunch of properties with him. It's been great. Baycomb has been good too. If you've ever used them, they're really good too. They're anywhere from like $89, whatever it is. And then here's the other one you talked about. Same thing
Yeah.
with Freedom. They're also great. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the goal is to get it on the MLS, right? It works when you get on the MLS. Now the problem is when you're focused on buying the property and now you try to list it, now you're focused on the wrong thing. You're trying to sell it too, but you have no leads coming back in behind you, right? So you
Yes.
have to ask yourself, what part of the business do you want to be in? Do you want to be a dispo or do you want to be in acquisitions? So I went through this and I was like, I'm going to sell everything myself because I buy everything myself. I'm going to just sell it all myself. So I tried it. I tried it for about 9 months, I think, and it was a pain in the ass. We were constantly being asked, like, "Hey, why isn't anybody meeting me at the property? Hey, I want to do this. Hey, can you tell me this? Like, oh, can you tell me a local stuff? Like, I don't know the local stuff. I don't live there." So it didn't work out for me. I'm across the country, all that stuff. We had different people try to answer the phones for us. I did it. My acquisitions guy did it. All that stuff. It was a huge distraction, and we still, don't get me wrong, we still sold a few properties through it. It still worked, but there were times where it just wasn't worth it, to be honest with you.
What platforms, Dennis, were you using when you were
All,
dispoing yourself?
all three of these.
Oh,
And
okay.
then also Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. I did Instagram ads. I did all that stuff. And they all work, but I feel like the best thing to do is just list with an agent. Because
Yeah.
when you work with an agent, the agent knows the area. They go out there, they walk the property, they do their thing. I get it. It costs you 6 to 10%. Okay. But at the end of the day, you're still going to pay a buyer's agent more than likely, right? So that's 3 or 4% out of your pocket, anyways. So, like, what are you
Yeah.
saving? 3%, maybe? So it's like, just list with the agent. Cut the
Yeah.
rest of the crap out. Unless you have a full time dedicated person inside your team that's going to do dispo, then just list with an agent. It just makes
Yeah.
sense to me. I don't know. That's my opinion. Kate, you are an agent, so it makes sense.
I am. Yeah. So I view this from the agent's view and from the investor's viewpoint of it. Few things. I think it's difficult when you have a piece of property that's only worth 30 or 40K, right? For us agent, if we're making 10K off of that, that's great, right? But for a real estate agent, that's not even worth like opening your email for, 'cause you got to
Mhm.
think about it. North Carolina, typical 10%, right? 5 on each side, maybe 8%. Um, by the time your firm takes their percentage and you pay for drone photos and you go out there, it's like, it's a lot, right? So I think it's hard for people when they have that lower tier or lower priced um, land. It's really hard for them to find an agent that's going to give them the time of day, right? Let alone
Exactly.
a good agent, right? That's a whole nother story. So I think that, I found that out, and I see why people list on Craigslist and Facebook. I've never done that, and I just won't, based on the feedback that I hear from people. It's so busy. You're just getting a lot of people saying, "Is this still available?" All these questions, all these questions, all
Mhm.
these questions, right? So that's what I don't need that. That's equivalent to like text message marketing to me. I'm like, let me stay away from it. But I think the best option for those lower price parcels for people is going to use the broker list if you're double closing, which is a flat fee MLS, to use the list with freedom if you're buying and selling. And one little just like pro tip when you're using that, people are gonna, if you're gonna, because I handle my dispo. I started using agents. The time that it took to train them up and keep up with them and all that stuff, like it drove me crazy, right? And
Mhm.
so I said, I have to figure out a way to control the dispo side, because there's a lot of value in the dispo side. You get connected with people who buy land, not just like your
Mhm.
normal onesie twosie people. Like you get connected with people who like developers. Right now, we're speaking to two developers over in Nash County. We posted, I listed I've never listed something over $500,000. So I didn't know how that was going to go. And it's a double close. And so I'm like, oh, this is going to take forever to be on the market. I don't know. And we got 2 developers interested in it right now, 2 offers on the table, right? And so need to go back with that. But even with my agent there, he's great. I went and got access to all of North Carolina MLS. So I can list anywhere, right? Which is great. And it's great to see all the comps and everything like that. But if it's a big parcel, you do want somebody to go there and walk it, right? I think that is important. What I notice is a lot of times, as long as there's a for sale sign or something that people can know where the land is, they're fine walking it themselves. People are going to call you and ask you the same thing over and over again. I have a 1-page PDF and it has everything on it, kind of like a due diligence sheet for folks. Everything they're going to be interested in, what you need to know about your land anyway. Wetlands percentage, right? Is it in a flood zone? What is the zoning? What can be built on it? What are the utilities? What's the tap fees? Is it septic? Is it well? All of those things that a buyer wants to know, have it in a PDF and you can just shoot it to them. That's what I do. They reach out, I shoot them the PDF link. And it has everything on it, the pictures, all of that good stuff. So it makes it easier. And it also helps the end buyer make a decision really quickly. And when you're listing on a flat fee MLS, 9 times out of 10, you're dealing with an agent, a buyer that has an agent. So there's not a lot of bullshit, is this still available type of conversation. You're dealing with someone that's typically been qualified with an agent and they're serious buyers, which is really nice. So having that quick way to communicate to the buyer or the agent is really key. Sit down, take 2 minutes, write a 2-sheeter, get a template. That's what I do.
Throw it into ChatGPT and say, hey, this is the property, this is the details.
1,000%.
Create a buyer's information sheet. Yeah. And then just add a couple little logos, make it pretty, and then boom, you're done.
Yep. Then you're done. So that helps, and it's quick. So having that little 2-pager is really, really helpful. And also, if you are going to hire an agent, I have also a guideline for my agents. I shoot that to them, what are your expectations? Because what you think is good, I may look at them that's crap. So I kind of walk through what I expect my description to look like. I'm very crazy when it comes to listings because I know SEO is just king. If you get a lot of clicks and a lot of saves, your listing is going to rise to the top. As soon as it gets listed, I'm looking at views and saves. That lets me know if I have an offer come in and how quickly it's going to come in, to be honest with you. Yeah. And that's having a good hero picture, which is the first picture you have on there.
What is your ideal hero picture? Because some people pick them up and they're trash. And I'm like, this is not a good descriptor of what this property is. It's like a street view tree. I'm like, okay, what am I getting here? I'm going to throw right past that.
Yeah. So I even have a guide, I'm a guideline freak. So I have a guidelines 2-pager for my drone pilots also. And it literally is a list of all the angles that I need them to take. It also is a list of things I need them to comment on, because I let them know, hey, you're my feet on the ground. Is it a dirt road? Is it any trash on the property? Is it a gravel road? Is it, anything I need to know? Is there still water? How's the topography? There's these things. I use droners.io. And like you said, you don't know what anyone else's standard is. So if you can put your standard in a 2-page, easy to read PDF, that's what I do. And on the second page, I have examples of what I expect my photos to look like. What the outline, what the street name, with arrows and circles saying this is the closest city, or the closest landmark. I want the skies blue. I want the grass green. Giving them examples of what you expect your end product to look like, it just helps everybody. And I make sure, hey, before you accept this job, can you do this? These are my expectations. Yep. And that has helped a lot, because before, when I was hiring drone pilots, it's you tell them what you expect, and then you get it back and you're like, it's not exactly what I had in mind. But that's on you, right? In communication. So drone pilots, they get a 2-pager. Agents, if I hire one, they get a 2-pager. This is what I expect, right?
Yep. Make sure it's only 2 pages, because I have a friend that did one and it was 27 pages for droners. I
Yeah.
said, you are never going to find
No.
an agent. You are
No.
never going to find a drone operator. The guy's making $200 and he's flying a little drone and taking a couple pictures. This is not going to work out. And he's like, but I
No.
want it to be detailed. I'm like, dude,
That's too much detail.
stop. Turn your engineer brain off and just put on, like, imagine you're a dude going to take pictures. If I
Yeah.
saw that, I'd be like, don't want it. See you later. Like,
Yeah. It's too much because these are just, like you said, these are
quick,
guys
easy.
going, you know, and I tell them like, hey, these things I'm asking you to do about like due diligence, put it in a voice note, text it to me. It doesn't have to be written. I have one journal write me like an essay. I'm like, this dude is legit. I was like, I didn't want to read it because it was like 2-page, like, but it was great. It was, you know, it was great. But every pilot's gonna be different. But yeah, just give them your guidelines and let them know what you expect. I think your picture needs to speak a million words without them reading your description, because that's what people just think about on Zillow. Like when we look at houses, like we're clicking on the stuff with the beautiful kitchens or the beautiful landscape. Like your land needs to look amazing, and they need to know, what does 4 acres look like? What does 10 acres look like? Like what part of this this landscape it would be my parcel? Where's the access point? How much road frontage is it? Like they should have no questions when they look at your pictures or your listings. And that's what your listing should communicate. And that is the difference between your listing sitting on the market for, 30 days and getting an offer, or sitting on the market for 6 months because it's been buried on page 7 of Zillow because no one's clicking on your crappy cell phone picture listing. So
yeah, it's totally true. Yeah. And also having a good agent that understands that and knows the right things to do too is really important. So if you're listening with an agent, so okay, so let's say you decide you're not going to work a broker list, you're gonna, or whatever, Bake Home or whatever, List of Freedom, you're gonna list with an agent, right? So I need to find an agent, right? There's a couple different ways you could go about it. Number one, you could go on Land Insights. You could look up the agent report, which is awesome. So let me show you guys real quick. They were just doing some work on it. It should be fine again, but let me just double check. So let's say, give me a county, Kay.
Let's do Cabarrus County.
Could it be a harder one to spell?
I know, right? Sorry.
Wake County or something like that, So right here, here's all the top land agents in the area. So super easy. I could just go who sold the most. This is the brokerage. This is the individual person. I could just say, all right, who sold the most in the area? Click her. Here's her information. Oh, look, she is adorable. Look at that little, oh.
I know.
So cute. So you could come over here. You could look at what she's done, whatever. All that just makes this is super easy. So that's one way. It took me 2 seconds to find an agent report. I go through here. I get their information, call them, boom. That's it. Here's Larry's number. Call him up, find out what he's got going on, see all the land sales he's done. Done.
Yeah, Larry's a beast over there, Cabarrus.
Yeah. So it's super easy, right? You could do that. Now, another way to do it, I just go into like Redfin, right? And I'll just go Redfin, Cabarrus County, right? Is that what you just say? I don't even know how to do that.
Don't ask me to spell anything.
I'll just do a different county, Wake County.
Yeah, there we go. Because I'm F7 on my keyboard all the time.
So I could just go sold in the last year, done. Home type, land, done. And then let's say it's a 40 acre. So I don't want to look at people that are selling infill lots. Let's look at people that are selling 20 acres plus. Okay, here's all the homes in this area. So let's just click this one, and here's the listing agent, eXp Realtor, non-member, non-office. Okay, so that's not it. Let's go to one of these. So I want to look at one. I want to see one. Is it like a decent picture? Would you say this is a pretty good picture?
Yeah, I think that's decent. Yeah.
Decent, right? Not amazing, but it's decent. It's got
not amazing, but it's decent. I think they took photos from not drone photos, but work with that.
Yeah. So listed by Michael Keene, Trademark Realty. Coming to here, just Google him. Michael Keene. Here you go. Here's all his info. So you can just pop on here and call him up. Have a conversation. Hey, just checking out your listings. Looks like you did X, Y, and Z. So it's going to take you a little bit longer because you got to click through, find their things that they've done and all that stuff, and then call them and whatever, have a conversation and all that stuff. But it makes it easy, right? You could do that. That's completely free if you don't have land
Yeah.
insight.
And this is great because you get to see their work too. Like you get to see their listings and how your listing would look if you hired them.
Yeah, like if I'm going to scroll through this, Kay, you tell me which listing you would pick, like which realtor you would work with, just based on scrolling through this.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Slow it down.
Okay, I got no pictures, so that's
No
good.
pictures. Okay.
We're doing great here. We're doing great. Okay, let's check out the
All right. That top right one right there, that's so February 25th. That shit.
I also
Like the
picked
one for 2 million right here. I think that's a deep, yeah, like
I like that because
yeah,
now it
I like
stands out.
that.
I know what my property looks like, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like that's what you want. It doesn't have to be like a red outline, a red just
even the vibrant green,
Yep.
right? It looks good. Redfin knows it looks good. Like
Yep.
yeah.
They want quality on their site. You got to think
They
about
do.
it.
They're
They
gonna push
want
out. They push out every day, like those little emails of, "Hey, check on this listing, the perfect home for you." And they're gonna put the ones that have the best SEO in those emails, which is gonna
Yeah.
give you more exposure.
Like,
Yeah.
what is this? What am I looking at? I don't understand this.
$9 million.
$9 million, and this is the front picture you put?
Yeah.
What am I buying for $9 million? There's no info.
That bush right
Like,
there.
yeah, like that's a $9 million bush. Okay. Like, okay, this one's cool. It's like showing the trees, but still, what's the property look like?
Yeah.
So, like when you
Yeah.
go to list, like you should, like this one, I'm assuming it's this whole big lot.
I'm assuming, but like
Right. Put
it
an
would be
outline.
nice to have an outline. Yeah. At
Yeah.
least I got your own.
There
Oh,
it is.
there was one. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. It
Yeah.
took me till the end to get it. Come on, $2.5 million property, and you only have 10 photos. Okay.
I'm crazy. Like I'm calling my agent as soon as it's up. They're like, it's live. I'm like, okay. And they know I'm gonna look. I'm like, wrong order. No, put
Yep.
this here. There's no spacing in the description. I'm like crazy.
Yep. Exactly. Like you gotta be on top of it. Like dead trees and stuff like that. Okay, I get it. It's probably bad timing, but like I still don't know what I'm buying for $3.5 million here. And I still will never know because there's 4 pictures for a $3.5 million property.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. $22 million, and this looks like it was a satellite photo. Come on.
How long has it been? How long has it been on market?
It has been active for 27 days.
Okay.
Like, this is terrible. So I would never work with an agent that does this, especially for a $22 million property.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If someone's buying something worth 22 million, are they looking on Redfin anyway? Like,
You're true. Very good.
But
Very good.
I don't know because that's I'm not listing stuff at 22 million. So
right, but it's just like what I'm saying. Like it just doesn't make sense.
1,000%. Even stuff that I feel like the affordable range, right, is the 150, maybe 200K and under is going to be that consumer that comes with all cash, right? Yeah. And they're going to pay for the property. 100K and under, definitely 1,000%. Yeah. Is going to be surfing on Zillow and looking for some good pictures. Yeah.
See, I would probably work with this agent based on his pictures and stuff like that.
Very good pictures.
Okay, but this obviously is really long time. But again, I'm not gonna. It's a $2 million listing. How many buyers are on here buying 22 acres for $2 million? Like, not a lot. It's a development deal.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't list a regular property with it. I mean, a development deal with this guy, because if you are listing something like this, you should know builders and be calling them, not listing it on Redfin. But yeah, this does look like a decent overall. He's got 25 photos. He's got all the stuff, right? It's decent. The listing could be a little bit more descriptive, especially for this price point, but still, I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, 2 million. I mean,
hey, there's a Dollar General over here. There is a Chick-fil-A right here. Like all those little things. Like that's what you want to say. Let me pull up. I just have a video. I just downloaded it this morning. There it is. Okay, so this is one that I just tried out. This is the first time I'm doing this. I'll share it with you guys. So let's see. So this is a company I found online. They will take your pictures, whatever you want, or they'll just take satellite pictures and make you. a quick little video.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
I mean, $2 million property could at least had, the video too. Now that you say that,
yeah, this literally cost me $100.
it's nice.
And
Yeah.
it just stands out. Like, here's Farley Road, it's on there. Here's the acreage, it's on there. Like that, like, the property you're getting, the little landmarks, whatever. If I'm buying a $2 million property, there's a $700 one you could do, and they'll literally draw the lot lines and all this stuff. It's like, it's pretty cool. Cancel.
I do think, like, I really enjoy the marketing and sales side of the acquisition side. I think I'm good at it. But it's also a transferable skill over on the dispo side. And I enjoy it too on the dispo side, because the more you can, everything is communication. The more you can communicate to your end buyer, right? It's like, this is amazing. That's great. The video. The better you can do that, the quicker your property is going to sell. Right. So that's just simply what it comes down to. Simply what it comes down to. What can I do with the property? Right. What else needs to be done to it?
Exactly. So, regardless if you're working with an agent or you're working by yourself and self-listing it, good pictures are most important. It's really, and once you find a good drone, or if you're working in one specific area, like Aaron actually showed me the site. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. You're the best, bro. He showed it to me, and I was like, yeah, let me try it. So I bought one, and actually does well. Like, our listing went up in views after we put that up.
Yeah. So, even 3D renderings work really, really well. You can go on Fiverr and you can find somebody. Don't go with someone super cheap. Go with someone that, you've seen their work before. But vacant land is especially when you're talking about 10 acres and under, where someone's going to buy it, probably build a house on it and have some extra land. Like, sell them the vision of the land, and so we had a 3D rendering on a property, 10 acres in Georgia, and it sold in, I think, under 45 days. And it was kind of a slow area a little bit, but the rendering just, as soon as the rendering went up on it, it just spiked. Like, the views, the saves, everything.
Exactly. Like, I got that video done, and we had a buyer that was supposed to come in and buy this thing, but then he's like, he realized he had to sell his other property, so we listed it, whatever. So now, 2 weeks later, I'm actually going to put that out. So I'm going to start running ads with that video. It's going to have, I have 2 videos, one without the agent's information and one with it. The one I showed you has no agent information. So I'm going to run ads with the agent information. Guess what? They'll call the agent when they see the video. So if you go on Instagram, everything like that, you could run ads targeted for specific buyers and certain demographics and all that stuff. Like, you say, I only want to market to, if you're outside of a major metro, I pick that major metro, market inside that major metro for people 35 and above with an income level above 125,000, whatever the case may be. It tells you your reach is going to be 30,000 people, whatever the case may be. And you spend $3 a day. Or whatever you want to do. If you want to move it faster, spend $50 a day. I don't care, but do something. It doesn't hurt. I've done that a few times, and we've sold our properties quicker. Do I know? I don't specifically know if it was that video necessarily, because they contact the agent, but at the end of the day, it worked. The property sold.
And I mean, how much does the video cost, right? Like, it's definitely worth it.
I think all in cost me like $500 with the video creation, not the Stereo Solutions. It was a different one I used for the last one. The video and the ads cost me like $500. So it's like,
I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it.
40 grand. I spent 500. Like, it's a no-brainer. Okay, so that's dispo in a nutshell. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. You have anything else to add on dispo?
Oh, I could talk about dispo all day, to be honest with you, but I know we are limited on time. I think we want to get into double closing. I think a lot of people want to hear about that. And I know we have a subject matter expert, transactional funder on today with us to talk about that. And I think it'll be good to kind of get his insight from his perspective with double closing too.
Yeah. So Kay invited Gene Lewis on here. I've never worked with him. Actually, it's going to be my first time meeting him, so I'm excited. There's 2 different ways if you're doing a double close. Double close basically means I have the contract. I find a buyer who has who wants to buy it. I don't want the seller seeing what I'm selling it for or anything like that. or what I'm making in the middle. So what I do is I do a double close or simultaneous closing, whatever. And what that basically means is they close the A to B side, the seller to me. So I take title for like an hour, not even, and then they sell it on the B to C side. So I sell it to the end buyer. Okay. So there's 2 closing costs you're paying and all that stuff, right? So it is a little more costly. It's different than a wholesale or an assignment, because a wholesale assignment, the end buyer could see the difference you're making. They'll see that they're selling it for X, Y, and Z. Not a lot of states do blind HUDs anymore, which is basically like they don't show the in between. It's very rare that you're going to get that. So what do you do in that situation? Well, you don't have the money. You don't have, like, I have one that I'm doing a double close on right now. It was a subdivide, found out we can't get water. So we're selling it, and we found a buyer. We're under contract for 1.15 million, and we found a buyer at 1.47 million, right? So I'm not going to just take $1 million out of my bank account, fund it. So what I do is I have to get either transactional lending, or I get, luckily this is in Texas, and the title company I'm working with does pass-through funding.
Oh, that's so nice.
Very rare when it happens.
That is very rare.
So that saved me. My transactional lenders are usually between 1% and 2%, typically. So usually larger deals, they want more money, which totally understand, it's higher risk, whatever. So 2% on that deal is like $20-something thousand. So I just saved myself $20,000 by pass-through funding. So it's very rare that it happens. So when you can't do that, what do? We talk to people like Gene. So I'm going to bring Gene on. Gene, what's up, man? How we doing? Nice to meet you, man. I can't hear you right now. Let's get your mic working. Hang on. There you go.
How about that? I'm doing all right. Nice to meet you as well. I've been in the background quietly listening, and I mean, I just want to say it's awesome information. I listened to the other episodes as well. Invaluable information, and definitely worth people checking out multiple times.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So,
and
double closing.
Before you get into double closing, you bring a lot of value to the Discord, and I just want to say thank you for that. And I was just like, we were having this for the 3rd episode. I'm like, I gotta ask him to come on, so you can so people can put a face with the name, right? Because you interact with a lot of people in the Discord. And we're going to see you at the Arizona LIA event next week, right?
That's right.
So that's awesome.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So, but thank you for being here.
Unfortunately.
Dennis, you won't be there?
No, I won't. We have like, my kids have a color run and field day. So.
Got it.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yep. Next time. So Gene, tell us a little bit about double closing, how it works, and where you fit into this puzzle.
Yeah. So the double closing, as I think I put that out there in the LIA group, we were land investors for a few years. And one of the methods that we primarily used was actually double closing. And ironically, we also got into that funding almost immediately when we got into the land. People were coming to us and say, hey, do you have some capital? Can you help us? So we 3 years ago, we had to learn by trial by fire, get the contracts and all that done. And then last year we decided, well, since we've done enough of these things, let's try to refine the process, turn it into a business, and actually really focus on that and see how can we bring value to most people. So what we've come across with, and actually at the end of this thing, I have a nice little ebook, if you will, that my wife and I put together that would be really useful for people in talking about different dispo mechanisms. So double closing, what we've seen, it really all depends. The closing mechanism that you use obviously depends on the county, the state, whether the attorney is willing to engage in that particular closing mechanism that you would like. Sometimes you don't have a choice, right? And then the seller has some sort of influence in it, and the buyer also may have some influence in it. Obviously, like Dennis mentioned, you have an assignment mechanism where if you can do it, you can save a lot of money in the closing mechanism, right? You do one closing and you don't have to pay a transactional funder for it. Fortunately, that is or unfortunately, depending on your perspective as an investor, in certain places would not allow it. And so double closing, then Dennis also did briefly go over that. You have the pass-through option. That is the one where basically, if you're fortunate to be in a location, the title company or the attorney office might be willing to use the funds from the end buyer to pass through for you to purchase the A to B and then also close the B to C side. So in that case, again, you can also get away with it without any capital of your own. You just still have to pay two different closing. And then the last option is the one where you actually need a transactional funder because the title company or the state or county will not allow the ability to do a pass-through option. And we've seen that in a few places. And so what ends up happening is you have to kind of have a relationship or go seek capital from somebody like me, a transactional funder, to come in. So we come in the middle and provide the capital that you need for the A to B side. We don't show up on the HUD or anything like that on the A to B side. When the title company knows what they're doing, we're not supposed to show up on the A to B side, right? You'll be surprised. We've seen it all. and so we only show up on the payoff side as a line item on the B to C side. And so if you're buying, when we say cash purchase, right, to your seller, it is a cash purchase. You're using a loan, but to them it's transparent. They're getting their cash, right? So there's no need for us to show up. So you've essentially kept your word in being a cash buyer to them, and then moved on, and then sold it to the end buyer. What we've also seen is there are instances. It used to be a lot of these buyers were cash buyers, but now we're starting to see where banks and different lenders are actually more open to lending money to the end buyers to actually purchase vacant land, which used to be kind of rare way back when. So we're seeing this situation where these guys are now able to get loan to purchase. And so we have to work all that strategy or mechanism into the whole entire double closing process, right? If the person is not familiar with dealing with a lender on the end buying side, it could throw it off a little bit. So, and in talking to some of the different, I guess, challenges that we've seen, right? It is critical, one, to work with the right attorney or title company office. We've seen deals fall through because the title company they don't know what they're doing, right? So you have to ask the right questions to get what you want out of them. But even so, you can ask the right questions and they can say, yes, we can do that because they're willing to do it, but then they mess up the paperwork, right? And that can cause some issues as well. Case in point, one instance, we had one guy working for a title company. The title company was so slow to respond. I don't understand how that could be, but the title was so slow to respond. It took days and days and days. And by the time I came into the picture, he found me, we were ready to go. Title was still lagging. And the seller actually ended up saying, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, right? And the contract was also close to expiration. So that's one thing. It's very critical to work with the right title company. And then second, you need to also ensure that I think it's important to have a relationship with different lenders or different funders, right? It's like in anything else, establishing a relationship early to get to know a person, how they operate, vet them is critical, right? Because you have to look at us almost as like I guess as a team member.
Oh yeah, and so you guys are our partners. Yeah,
right. And so
that's the whole point.
Right. And so we have to move in lockstep with you, right? We have to be able to move as quickly as you need to move or as slowly as you need to move. And so that is another thing to also keep track of. But reading your HUDs, if you're not familiar with reading HUDs, like you should get really, really comfortable reading those paperwork. There have been 2 or 3 instances where title company has given the HUD because we also get a copy. And we actually sit down and actually review the HUD, right? Sometimes it's the wrong amount for closing. Sometimes it is me showing up on the HUD A to B side as if I'm going to pay my own fee, which will end up costing the investor more money, right? And so all those mistakes, the first time we caught it, we literally had to sit down and actually break it down. Here's where it makes sense, and here's why it doesn't make sense, and this is what you should do, and all those things, right? So we've had experience seeing these kinds of things and actually correcting title companies and sending it to them.
I'm glad
Fortunately,
you said that. I'm glad you said that for people listening that maybe don't look at their HUD, or they think it's complicated, or they assume that it's an attorney, right? Or a
Yeah.
title company and they know what they're doing. We're all human. Mistakes
Oh, wow.
happen. And so it's so important to look line by line and understand those line items. Yeah, because they make mistakes. Yeah.
Get a calculator out and calculate everything.
Yep, that right there.
I sit there, I literally, when a HUD comes in, I'm punching it in, and I'm like, I found like money missing sometimes, or like unallocated funds, and I'm like, it's literally math. Like, just
yeah,
yeah, you have to. So super important.
yeah, and so these are some of, I think the most critical part is having the right partners, the right title company, really paying attention to your HUDs. And then if you're working with a transactional funder, having somebody who's experienced in doing them and has looked at quite a few of them, and can also at least walk through some scenarios with you, right?
Mhm.
But obviously there's so many different closing mechanisms. The other day when we were land investing, we used to hear about triple close. That's another option. And it's like, well, what exactly is that, right? And so the it's defined as like that is your almost like your tactical last resort closing mechanism, where as a wholesaler you find a piece of deal, you find a deal, but you're unable to close on it. Your expiration date is approaching, but you know another investor or somebody, or you went around and shopped among your investor friends, and for whatever reason they don't want to just bring the buyer, right, to bridge it and then get their their split or whatever you guys decide
Mhm.
on. And so the person perhaps would like to secure their interest, and so they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna bring a buyer, but you've got to essentially sell it to me in the first close, and then I'll sell it to the buyer on the second or third close, right? So then
Mhm.
from the A to B, I'm the B, and then I'll take it and I'll sell it to the investor, and then the other investor sells it to the end buyer, which is the three closings happening.
Mhm.
Obviously,
I've
not the
done that
most
before.
efficient. I'm
That is
sorry.
a lot.
I've had to do that before. It's not efficient, but I've done it before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do what you got to do, right? If you're
You
not
do.
losing money,
Yeah.
if you're not losing money, you got to do it.
Yep.
But
Or
yeah,
I've done it because some states won't allow you to do double closes. You might have to do a delayed double close. So essentially,
right.
like, you line up the first closing, and then 7 days later, you could close the second side. So
Yes.
I've had to do that where I had to line it up and then execute one, wait 7 days, execute number two. So I owned a property for 7 days, basically.
Yeah.
And then at that
Yeah.
point, I'd got transactional lending, but it costs a little bit more money because at
Right.
that point you're like holding it for 7 days. So
Yeah.
still cheaper
That's correct.
than, going out and getting, JV funding debt or like fixed rate
Yeah.
debt with a lender,
Right.
but still it's more expensive, right? I think my friend did that for me for like 3%. So
Yeah.
because it was a friend and I've been in business for a while, whatever, but that doesn't always happen. So
Yeah. And that is, I'm glad you brought that up. That is also something that we're seeing very common in dealing with buyers that have a bank backing, because the banks
yeah.
don't necessarily want to put funds in until they see that the investor's name is reflected in the county records, right, and title.
Mm,
And so what ends up happening is you almost have no choice but to close one day, and then hopefully the county updates their record within 24 to 48 hours so that you can close again on the
yep.
B2C side. So yeah, we've seen a lot of these different scenarios, and it gets interesting when you have lenders and skeptical buyers or sellers, right? Some buyers
Yeah.
say, you know what, I want to close on my day and I want to see your name on it, right?
Yep.
And some counties will not record and update their records on the same day. We had one transaction where it was supposed to be a same day. It turned into a 3-day thing, right? Because the
Yeah.
county decided that it's 1 to 3 days, but they're not going to update it until the third day. So you also have to have that. So when you're dealing with a funder too, you have to, like, the expectation has to be set, and everybody has to be somewhat realistic and understanding, right? If somebody does not understand that some of these things can happen, that may not be that may not land to a long-term relationship or good relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that but yeah, just to say, in the double closing realm, we've seen so many different variations. And ironically enough, when we started way back when, I was going through my record in 2022 with the double closing, and we were closing things like a week or 2 hours. We were calling the double closing, but that's like more of a gap funding, right?
Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah.
But at the time, we didn't know, right? So we had over time, we got a lot better. And so because we've seen the ability to essentially hold things for a long time, the question has always become, well, then how does everybody secure their interest,
Interest.
right?
Yep.
If you're putting capital in, we don't want it to sit there for 2 weeks and then it comes back, and it's like, well, buyer has had cold feet and they're out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or 3 days and stuff like that. Which, I mean, it could happen in a 3 day, but it's not a deal breaker compared to a
Mhm.
week or two. So yeah, the primary thing in dealing with transactional funding is that most funders want it to occur at the same title company and same day, right?
Yep.
And that's not all necessarily the case sometimes. And
Yep.
the other thing is that I think a while ago I put a
Oh, okay.
can you hear me?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
You
Good.
froze for a
Yeah.
second, but you're good.
Oh, okay. A while ago I had put together a funding matrix that kind of gives people an idea of the different combinations and possibilities of how these things can go and the impact, right? Whether it's a low probability or high probability or high risk and low risk type funding. So I have all that inside this ebook that we've put together, including questions to ask title companies, that I think would be valuable to people who are, especially for one, if you're establishing a team. We've talked to some transactional coordinators who don't even understand what kind of closing mechanisms they're doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's something that, you can go to our website and then request it, and then it'll be emailed to you.
That is amazing. I think a lot of new people coming into the space, the funding part can be intimidating. It can be scary because they're like, is there a credit check? How do you secure interest? How do I bring this deal in?
Mhm.
So for someone new, Gene, just really quick, someone brand new and they have a deal, how would they approach you? Is there a credit check? How do you secure your interest? What details do they need to give you about the deal?
Yeah. So the thing about the double closing, typically, we've done it so many different ways. Some people give us like 2 weeks heads up. Hey, we might have a closing here. And when they do that, we pretty much then start allocating the capital for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? To make sure that when that time comes and they say, yeah, we're closing, we're ready to go. Others come in a couple of days before. The most important thing is, because it's an instance in which you have the contract with the seller, but you have already found a buyer for this particular property that you have under contract. There's really no need to do any kind of checks, credit check, or anything like that. You're not getting a loan, right? You're just just getting the capital, close, and be done with it.
Yeah.
And so, from our perspective, the way to secure our interest or our capital is really, we require that the buyer's funds are already in escrow, and or if they're dealing with a lender, we must get a quote clear to close from the lender, because then we know that the capital has been committed. They've already gone through all the checks and all that. Now, they may not necessarily have the money inside the escrow account yet, because again, they might want to wait to make sure the investor's name is on title. And
Mhm.
so once we get the clear to close, we know that we're good. The wire goes out. As soon as it tells us clear to close is good to go from the B2C attorney, we send our wire. And
Mhm.
so it is a very seamless process. We technically, for us, we don't care about your contract, right? Your contract that you have with the seller, or the contract that you have with a buyer. Because by the time we get to where we need to get to, you will introduce us to the title company or the attorney's office, so that all three of us are inside in constant communication to prevent any kind of miscommunication from happening. So you introduce us to the title company, we respond, we ask them a certain number of questions to make sure that we understand exactly what they're doing, and they know how we operate. And then once we get HUDs come in, we revise the HUDs, make sure everything is good to go. We give a thumbs up. You as an investor obviously have to give a thumbs up for it to move forward. And that's pretty much it. And we get to closing. The wire goes in once we get buyer's funds in escrow and the or clear to close from the lender or the bank. So it's a really simple process. Like the main thing is for us, it's just my wife and I that are essentially running this. She's doing it full time. I got a W-2. So on our website, as soon as you put a request in, she gets on it literally in less than maybe 30, depending on how much she's dealing with, in less than an hour or in a few minutes, you're going to hear from her telling you, hey, we're going to fund it and here's the requirement. Essentially put us in touch with the title company to make sure that we're all in communication. So nobody's talking to somebody without the other party knowing.
Right. Yeah, I love the new website, by the way. It makes it very easy for someone to just go on and just work with you guys. So yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna definitely reach out to you for double closing and stuff because we need it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. You definitely do save money in comparison to a JV funder instead of paying them 30, 40, whatever percentage.
Yeah.
And double closes are typically quicker. There's no title issues. And one little tip for folks that want to close both deals at the same title company is to offer to pay for the buyer's closing costs, the end buyer's closing costs, or half of it. When you do that, it entices them to come and close with your closing company. So
Gene dropped off, I guess. He lost service, I guess. But yeah, so that's awesome. So all right, I had a question.
Dennis, that was rude.
Yeah, no, I just kicked him. I booted him as soon as he was done. Get the hell out of here.
Take the controls from you.
See you later, bro. You're out. No. So one question I have for you, since you do a lot of double closes, when do you get title? Right? Do you get title done soon, or do you wait, or what do you do?
It has changed over time. So when I first started, I would get deals. I'm an agent, so I list them quickly. I would run and get the photos quickly, all those things. But there he is. Yeah. But one thing I did, no problem. Where are you calling us from too?
I'm actually in Bogota, Colombia.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, so I'll be flying into the event from here. I'm working here. So we left Maryland and came out here, the whole family.
Oh, nice.
We are here for a couple of years and then moving on.
Wow, very nice. Oh, I love that. Especially for the kids, get to experience that. Yeah, exactly. Really cool. Dennis, what were you? That is terrible. What we're talking about?
Well, I have ADD. I have no idea. I zero.
No,
something about title.
Yeah, when do you get title done? Do you get title done?
This has changed. So, like I said, I would get a contract. You're excited. Go get the drone pictures. Go, do all these things and get the soil test. You might get a survey, and you have it listed. People are blowing you up. Okay, you get a contract. You're ready to go. You get a buyer. You go to title issue. Dun dun dun. Right. And so it only took a couple of those for me to be like, I'm not doing that anymore. I get title first, no matter if it's a double close or a buy sell. That is the first thing that we do. We go to our title company. And another great thing about going a mile deep, right, is having your repeat title company that you use. They know you. Mm-hmm. They end up knowing to work with your funders very easily. And it's an easier process, to be honest with you. Again, just we talked about that a long time ago, Dennis, about being in kind of the same areas and working in the same areas and the benefit of that. But yeah, I get title done first, no matter what, and it just saves us a bunch of headache ahead of time. And my ass will go spend money on everything, like getting it ready, super excited, right, to get it going. And then you find out title issue. And it's something you can do, right? You can go look at the county records and everything looks good. And sometimes it's something easy where you just need maybe a quick claim deed from a cousin or something like that. We've had instances where the sibling didn't want the other sibling to know they were making money off the deal. So they wanted us to come in and kind of play this role and send them the quick claim deed, which is cool, which is fine, whatever. But more difficult situations, you end up, especially in the beginning, you don't have the capital to lose $200 on pictures and, $800 on soil tests and $1,200 on surveys and stuff. So I learned that lesson pretty quickly up front. Go ahead, toss it the title. Investor-friendly title companies know 30% of the files they get don't close. So don't feel bad about it. That's why they charge so much too. Like they're gonna charge more than the normal folks, but they're quicker and they have a lot of value. So yeah.
All right, so we got 5 more minutes. So let's just real quick cover the 3 funding options we typically have. Or is it 3? I guess 3, right? Different options we have. Let's just talk about the different options we have. Let's cover that, and then the title. I agree with the title. I do the same thing. So I got burned a bunch of times, lost a bunch of money. Then I started doing a prelim title. I pay like $50, get a prelim title that gives me like the okay, and then I send it to actual title and then move forward. Whatever. It helps a lot because I've spent so much money on lost money and just didn't work out. Anyways, you get burned a few times, then you start realizing I'm an idiot. So yeah, we send the title, we get that done, and then we move on. Make sure it's all good. We actually just had a deal canceled because mineral rights were never transferred, and the buyer, it was a double close. The buyer was like, "I need to buy this with the mineral rights." It was like a 5-acre parcel. I'm like, bro, like, what are you gonna do with the 5 acres of mineral rights? Like, you're not going to become a billionaire. Like, we literally lost. Like, he just canceled the deal because of it. I'm like, so stupid. Anyways, so you have cash closing, which basically use your own cash, or you could use a JV funder's cash or private lender's cash, right? Private lender typically is fixed rate debt. You work with them, you get like 10 or 12% interest, whether it's annualized or points. I typically pay my lenders points because I want to fatten their pockets so they keep coming back, so that when they think about putting it into another deal, they say, no, I want to put it with Dennis. So he comes back and can make me 20, 30% versus like giving them 10% and then it's amortized over the year. And then you pay them back in 4 months and then they only make like 3 or 4%. Then they're like, yeah, I'm going to go with the other guy that's going to hold my money for a year or two because I know I'm going to get 10 or 12% on it. Right. So that's my personal thing with my private lenders. Yes, it's more expensive. I'm making money. They're making money. I keep them in the corral. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. Or JV funders. Me personally, I haven't really used JV funders, but JV funders basically come in. They actually take title. Whereas personal private lenders, I hold title. JV lenders, they take title and they own the deal for now. And they give you a split. 70-30 escalations and all that stuff. They're great. It works. They're taking a lot of risk. So if it doesn't sell, they own the property. So that's why they charge a higher fee. Okay. If the other way it doesn't sell, it's a personal guarantee on me. I have to make sure that sells. And if it's any shortfalls, I'm the one paying it back. That's why private lending is harder to get and different, but whatever. Then we have double closing transactional funding, which we just talked about. You could also get loans from banks, which is more rare. We don't really see that too often, but you can do it. You bring a down payment. They cover 80%, 90%, 80%, or like 50%, whatever the case may be. What other funding sources do you have? Anything else? A lot, but
there's a lot. I tend to, we end up doing like a double close in the beginning. And then a lot of times with telling Gene this, we end up buying it, which is, just crazy. But JV funding has been good to me. I've gotten really good partnerships with people that I work with. And one of my funders was just like, 1 to 6 months, here's the percentage, we're good. Like, and that's that, and we do a blanket thing like that. So it really works for us. And I would say, like, I've had a few DMs about this, but go on title. The first deal I did with a JV funder, my first deal ever, I didn't go on title and I just didn't know any better. And I hated the lack of control of that situation because it's your first deal. You're waiting for that wire to hit. And then I hit up. No one's paying me any attention in the email thread with their closing attorney. They're like, oh yeah, this got pushed out a week. I'm like, No one told me anything. Okay. And so they don't have to tell you anything. You know what I'm saying? And your JV funder probably has a bunch of other deals going on, right? So ask to go on title with your JV funders. Like, don't be shy to do that. And I would just say do good business. Do good business is what I would say. Don't try to make a deal look better than what it is, or try to sell it to the funders. They have their own underwriting, So like Dennis said, when everyone wins, it sets you up for a long-term positive relationship. Yeah.
I was talking to some people about that the other day, about exactly that, like why I pay people 10%, like 10 points on deals. And it's like, it just makes sense to me. I get it. I can get cheaper debt. I have cheaper debt, but I don't, like, I'm making money. They're making money. It just, why try to, like, if you keep just stripping people down to make the least amount, like,
nickel and diming. Yeah,
they're not going to want to work with you. It's just very simple. But if you keep making them happy and giving them 20%, 30% on their money a year, don't you think they're going to stay with you forever? Like, always come back? It's like such a simple thing. And the amount of money, and it's not like you're paying like 30% on one deal. You're paying like 10% on like $120,000. Like, okay, you already factored it into your deal. So why make it a big deal? I don't know. That's just me. But
and then bend the rules a little bit for you. It's not it could be over 50%, it could be 60%, maybe 7% of value. They're still going to work with you because you just done your business, And so I know people are like sticker shock when they see JV splits, but you got to understand they're taking all of the risk. They don't know you, right, at all whatsoever. Let them get the higher, that percentage in the beginning, but just do good business, build those relationships, and you'll be able to have better splits in the future. So.
That is 100% correct. Because in the beginning, you're building a relationship. Once it's established and we know each other, I mean, we're flexible, right? Even in the transactional funding space, the ones that I work with that keep coming back, I mean, we normally have a fee. We might have a fee if it doesn't go as planned, but I can waive it, right? Because I control the capital. I can waive it, say, hey, you know what? This guy, normally he closes on time. This is out of his control. I tell the title, no need to charge this thing. It's not even worth it. Let's just move on and get this thing done. So having a good relationship is critical. But it is critical for you to have a good transactional funder, or any funder in general, to have a great enough commitment, right, to you, to ensure that they have a great interest in seeing your business scale and get bigger. Because we also, on our end, we also recognize that if you do well, we do well. So there's no need for us to try to also nickel and dime people in the whole process. So it goes both ways, and you have to work with people who understand that, who have that understanding.
That's exactly it. So at the end of the day, you're going to work with people that you like to work with. So if people are nickel and diming you, you're not going to want to work with them. So don't nickel and dime people. Just pay everybody the way they should be paid. Same thing with agents. If you go and this agent, like, I get 10%, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm only going to give you 6. Do you think they're going to work that hard for you when they know they're getting 10% everywhere else? No. They're going to be like, this guy's like the end of the list. Like, whatever, So I always tell my agents, like, hey, if everything goes great. If it goes bad, we have to have a talk. And they're usually fine with it. Like, I have one deal that I'm finally dispoing after a year. And
the railroad track one.
Yes, finally. Yes. Well, I just talked to the agent. I said, hey, man, look, we're breaking even on this thing. I said, I'm not making a dime. I said, I actually need you to come down a little bit just so we could break even. And he's like, I got you. He's like, this was out of your control, out of my control. We're going to come down. So we came down to 5%. And he's getting the deal done. Like, that's just how it has to be sometimes. So.
Yeah, and having a tiered approach too is nice with agents. Like, if it sells for this, you get this, and having that understanding up front is really, really helpful too, because it makes them kind of go for the higher price. So
give them the incentive, push the people to negotiate and say, hey, look, I need you to get up to 185, not 175. Why? Like, I get a 2% bump if I do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, this is awesome. So Gene, you just make sure you drop your email so everybody get in contact with you and get that ebook. And then, Kay, this is an awesome series. I think we should do more. I think we should just honestly have you on like every week or 2 weeks.
I
really
know,
love
like
that one.
when I got off
Talk
the
to
call
somebody
last
else.
week, I was like, that was a good call. Like we have good calls, but last week I was like, I think that was the MVP right there. And
Yeah.
I know Gene coming on here and dropping this book, this ebook, MVP.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So I am I mean, obviously I'm on the in the Discord group, super active. The wife is also there. She'll post the website, and then just go to the contact us page and just type in free book in the comments. Put your email and all that, and then it'll get shot out straight to people.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be great for people to have just any little bit of knowledge to make them more informed. It's just huge. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love this.
My
Love
pleasure.
this.
Awesome. All right. This is great. I love it. So this is basically a 3-part series, how to reboot your business. So I'm hoping everybody kind of is able to learn even one little thing, one little tweak, and just gets you an extra 40 grand this year, right? Because that could reset somebody's whole everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Let's do this again. Let's do something
Oh,
else.
All right.
as a shameless plug, the website, in case she's not listening,
Yeah.
is
Go.
capitaltoclose.com.
I'm gonna drop it. Capital.
Such a cool name too.
I know that. How'd you get that?
Yeah.
site, man?
Yep. Capital to close.
We shopped around. We wrote a lot of names down before we got to this one. Just trying to buy a website, web address or something else. We crossed off a lot of names and did the research.
That's catchy. Yeah. I love that.
Is it capital with the T? Two close with the T. Two.
It can be. We bought both, so the number 2 works as well.
Smart.
All right, good. There you go. I got you here. Capital
Cool.
Two close. I'm gonna share it right now. Awesome. All right, thanks,
Excellent.
guys. I appreciate it. I actually have
Thank you.
to call and go do a walkthrough. So
All
I'll see
right.
you all later.
Bye, Dennis. Gina, see you next week. Okay.
See you next week.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.